show you guys how to make one of our favorite breakfast recipes. This is something that my husband loves, something that I know my grandpa used to make all the time and would rave about. We're gonna make biscuits and gravy, but this is a keto biscuits and gravy. So let's get started. I worked really hard to develop this recipe for keto biscuits. These biscuits are thick, they're fluffy, they're kind of flaky, they're perfect and totally worthy of any sort of creamy sausage gravy that you want to pour on top. So I'm going to start by showing you how to make these flaky biscuits. The ingredients you're going to need are 1.5 cups of almond flour, 3/4 cups of coconut flour, and then we have some whole psyllium husk here. This is 2 tablespoons, and you want the whole, you don't want the ones that are the powder. They have powdered psyllium husk. I'm using the whole husk here. And then I also have a mixture of baking powder, salt, and baking soda here. This will help our biscuits rise. And then we have some heavy whipping cream and then also some chilled sour cream. And then on top of that, we have some frozen butter. I recommend having the butter as cold as possible. You'll need 6 tablespoons. So in a bowl, we're going to combine our dry ingredients. So all of our flours, our psyllium husk, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And we're going to whisk that together until it's combined. The key to having the flakiest biscuit is to use butter and ingredients that's as cold as possible. That's why I like to freeze my butter before I make these biscuits. And then I also use a cheese grater to grate it into the dry mixture. This just allows the perfect size of butter chunk, and I don't have to use a pastry cutter or a food processor to mix it in. Any sort of mechanical movement is just going to increase the risk that your butter's going to get soft and melt, and you won't have flaky biscuits. After you've combined your butter with the dry ingredients, then we're going to add our wet ingredients. So in goes the heavy cream and the sour cream, and then mix it together until it's combined. And then at some point you're going to have to ditch that spoon and get your hands dirty and combine the rest of it together by kneading it together. You don't want to overwork it because we don't want to melt that butter. The next step to getting a very flaky, crumbly, beautifully fluffy biscuit, it all has to do with how you fold it and how you mold it. I'm going to be folding it into a square and then folding that on top of itself hamburger style multiple times, at least like 4 to 7 times. Just doing that, it builds those layers. As you can see, there's layers and layers of dough in there and lots of little flakes of butter to create those beautiful bubbly pockets that are going to help fluff up that biscuit. As you can see, I'm just mushing it down until it's 1 inch thick. Then we fold it and we mold it again into that square or rectangle shape again until it's 1 inch thick, and fold it again and repeat that entire process, building those layers. I usually repeat this by around 4 times. Again, I'm trying not to get my butter to melt when I do this. So working fast, not pushing down too hard because you want that butter to stay intact. Once you've completed your final fold, then it's time to cut up our biscuits. And I like to make 6 portions out of mine. I feel like that's the perfect biscuit size. And you can see right here all the beautiful layers that were created. Now it's time to move this parchment paper onto a baking tray. I'm going to separate them out and then just brush some melted butter on top just so that they don't turn out too dry on the edges. And now it's time to bake them in the oven. We're going to bake them in a 400-degree oven for 10 minutes. You can remove them from the oven once they're done, and we just want to let these cool on the pan. Let them continue to sit for about 5 minutes because they will be super delicate. Up next, we're gonna be making my creamy sausage gravy. You can get started on this while your biscuits are cooking or if they're cooling too. Using a large skillet, we're gonna melt some butter over medium heat. Next, we're gonna add a pound of ground sausage. You can use ground pork, Italian sausage, hot Italian sausage, whatever kind is your favorite or whatever you have on hand, but we're just gonna break it up with a wooden spatula into smaller chunks. You wanna let that cook over medium heat until it's no longer pink, which is about 5 minutes. Then we're gonna add the onions. This is half a cup of onions going in here. Stir it around, let it continue to cook until the onions have softened. And once the onions are softened, we're going to add our thickener. In this recipe, the thickener is gonna be xanthan gum. So this is a half a teaspoon of xanthan gum going in. Move everything around, stir it around just so that the xanthan gum coats all of the morsels of the ground sausage and the onion. And then we're gonna whisk in our liquids. You wanna slowly whisk in 1 cup of heavy cream, followed by 1 cup of chicken broth. And as you're whisking, you wanna break up all those beautiful brown bits on the bottom that's stuck to the pan. That has all the flavor in it, so don't forego those. You wanna keep those in, so just keep whisking until a lot of those get dislodged. You wanna slowly add this in here because it's gonna start to combine with that xanthan gum and then thicken as it cooks. And once all of your cream and chicken broth have been added, just let it continue to simmer for a few minutes until the sauce thickens further. So once it's thickened and it's at this stage, you can add some seasonings. I like to add a ton of black pepper and a little bit of sage just for some flavor. Mix that up and then your sausage gravy is all set. I hope you guys found this video helpful. This is for all of you biscuits and gravy fans out here. This is the perfect recipe that you can make on a lazy weekend like this one. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up if you have been missing biscuits and gravy like we have. Have a good one. Bye.